Hey everybody, and welcome to the first episode of a very special series of Art of NGF podcasts. These are the Ozark Talks. This is based on the Netflix show Ozark, which we discovered after about 2 or 3 episodes seemed to have the seeds of something very important and useful in direct relation to the art of not giving a fuck, to the topic of an experience of transcendence, and simply to taking full responsibility of your life and living the best life you possibly can, no matter what the circumstances. So this show has either accidentally or purposefully showcased numerous tools and situations and mental training that you can apply in your life right away. So what we're going to do with the Ozark Talks is dig into that episode by episode. So there'll be 10 talks for now, and this is episode 1. So what I encourage you to do is to go watch episode 1 before you listen to the talk. Even if you've already seen it before, the show really ripens with multiple viewings. It's definitely meant for multiple viewings. So go watch episode 1, then come on back and listen to the talk, and then you can follow along with us as we go week by week, episode by episode, and start to take some of that training on for yourself.
Let me just say goodbye to my kids. They're asleep, and I'll just leave them a message, you know? And they're confused and worried about me. Hang on 1 second. I'll just leave a message. I'll tell them that I'm going away somewhere, and that I'm going to miss them.
Hey, no. Where are they? Are your kids in school? Summer break?
What?
Your kids' summer break? I don't want to go in front of the kids.
Wendy doesn't know anything about what I do. I never told her about anything that I do. Not once. Not once. You don't need to do anything to Wendy.
Are we ready?
No, hang on. Wait 1 second. Just talk to me for 1 second. Just hang on a second. More shoreline than the whole coast of California.
Excuse me.
This place right here has more shoreline than the whole coast of California. And apparently, every summer. Hang on.
Presenting The Art of Not Giving a Fuck with Garrett Daun.
So welcome, we've got Lance and Taylor here. Hey guys.
Hello.
Hey everybody. And let's just go right on in. So the episode 1 begins with an opening scene of the main character, Marty Bird, bringing suitcases full of something through the darkness to some undisclosed location while he's giving a speech about money, about the definition of money. And he sets up in that speech, he sets up how ridiculous everyone's life is, how they don't have enough money to even retire. The dream that they've been working for is actually corrupt and they haven't made it. And by the end, he says that money is a measure of a man's choices. So that's how it kicks off. Do you guys have any thoughts about that opening scene?
Yeah, he's well, it ends up he's doing his pitch to the couple in his office. So he's running a well-crafted scripted sales pitch to the couple in front of him. So as inspired as it sounds, it's automated at the same time. He's just going through the paces of his day-to-day existence.
Yeah, he's fully locked into it. And then they're giving us a huge foreshadowing of all kinds of things to come, because of course there he is in the darkness doing something apparently shady while giving this about money. Taylor, anything stand out to you before we move forward?
Well, jumping back to the part where he's in his office.
Well, that's where we're going to now.
Oh yeah, well let's go there.
All right. So, well, the scene opens with Marty looking at his email and then giving that speech to the couple. And there's the top email. I didn't notice this until about the fifth viewing, but it says, "Don't open at work," in all caps. And then we see him start to watch this porn video while still pitching the couple pretty successfully.
Yeah, and that kind of shows the running. He's dissociated a bit from his reality a little bit. The fact that he can manage these two things at once, running this script that he does and watching what his wife getting nailed from behind. He's on autopilot. He's in survivor mode. He's disconnected from his life.
Yeah, and they give us the hint right away that it is his wife or something related to him, because it's from an email. It's not just him looking at videos. Although you might miss that on the first viewing.
Oh yeah, probably.
And then what was interesting too is that we see Bruce introduced straight away, and he steps in and does a scammy move with the couple. Like Marty didn't need to do any scammy move. He knew he already had them. They were going to buy. And then Bruce comes in and does some scammy thing and then makes the sale right away.
Yeah, Bruce is kind of the definition of the manipulated life.
Right. Yeah, he thinks he has to always have an edge, even when he doesn't need to.
Yeah, because even when he doesn't need to, because clearly they were profiting from their business with Dell all along. I'm not sure they needed to be doing the skimming that they were doing.
No, and Marty's unaware of it too, and it's pretty clear that he didn't have any clue that was going on, and which is another aspect of him being asleep to his situation. So that's what that entire opening scene, I think, does, is establishes Marty as asleep, being taken advantage of by people, and he's focused on saving money and creating this future, but he's definitely not excited. And Bruce calls him out on it too. Now, something big happens. They're touring the new office, or the potential office, and Bruce gives him the Ozark pamphlet. And it's at a moment when Bruce is like, "You got to live a fucking exciting life, man." And I think right here we see something that's in a lot of Sufi traditions, which is learning to take instructions from reality. It doesn't matter who's delivering it or by what means the instruction gets to you, but you can recognize it as an instruction and then take it. So he gets instructions right there when Bruce hands him the Ozark pamphlet. And he says the secret words. He tells Marty the secret words: cash rich and more shoreline than the entire coast of California. So Marty gets the secret words from Bruce. Right. His final gift. But he hasn't yet even realized what that is. He barely wanted the pamphlet. He's not aware of what's happening yet. But he becomes very, very fully aware.
Well, Marty's spy has been activated by his hiring of the private eye to keep an eye on his wife. That shows that there's something extra running, that he's starting to take an observer perspective on his life, which is the catalyst to him breaking free.
Right, and we see the beginning of his collapse with the porn video with his wife. I mean, that's where it starts. That's a huge crack in his well-crafted armor.
Yeah, I love the line when he meets with his wife And she asks how his day was, and Marty replies back, "How was yours?"
How was your day?
Yeah.
Let's reboot.
Oh,
Didn't you get groceries on Monday? Yeah. Yeah, he knows. So everyone's deadened. The next scene that stood out to me, and you guys just jump in anytime here, if I'm missing things or something you want to add, is he goes to where all the prostitutes are, and we see a prostitute get in the car, but of course we find out that he was fantasizing that while beaten off. And his fantasy, what stood out to me the most on this viewing was that his fantasy was that he was being appreciated for all he had done for his family. So the woman goes through the list of various things he did, how long he's been married, how he didn't cheat, how he puts Christmas presents under the tree since 2002, and everything that he does. So he's fantasizing not about just some sexual experience, but actually someone giving him appreciation that he feels that is obviously not there from the wife and the family.
yeah, and that scene also, it shows why Marty's a good candidate to transcend his living experience into a new experience, because when he's met with this this situation in his wife with his wife, he feels the obsessive pull to have revenge or act out, which he does. He goes and in his imagination he goes to the prostitute, but he's doing it with awareness. He's not like, he didn't go actually bang a bunch of prostitutes, and even if he had, he's bringing, he didn't fall victim to his reaction to that situation as harshly as he could have.
Yeah, we see that about him multiple times throughout the episode, actually.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking, it's amazing I missed this part because I skipped right over the dinner, and it's like the Last Supper, because that's the last dinner before everything gets crazy, and everyone is just fucked up. The kids are fighting. They have to reboot the conversation, and the meal is all nice, but nobody eats it except for Marty. And then the wife says,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, great." He's like, "Great dinner," and she's like, "Yeah, I spent a lot of time on it." And
Yeah, I worked hard at it.
I worked hard at it. So they're at the last.
And there's no satisfaction in anyone.
No,
None
at all. Very important point, because people could easily try to write the show off as just some, action drama thing. But if you start to pick up on these cues right here, you can find the ticket into a lot more depth of what's being presented.
Totally. And there may be a reflex to get lost in the idea that we would be glorifying Marty's quote unquote immoral life choices, but that's completely not the case. There's a deeper level to this story that's being told that is so relates to everyone's life.
Yeah.
When they start to apply the art of not giving a fuck, these themes are unmistakable.
Yeah, exact milestones.
Mm-hmm.
So what I thought was interesting is after the dinner, that's when he goes out to the prostitute area, and we see it's all darkness. It's the middle of the night, and everything has changed already, just with him finding out about the wife cheating. But he doesn't realize that's just the prelude to the rest of the changes. And I think this was the dark night of the soul, and it goes from, I think it actually begins the moment Marty gets put on his knees by Del, that it actually shatters into it right then, and it ends 4 days later. So we can establish what Del shows up, Marty gets called in, he can't refuse, there's no way to not go. And Del tells the Carlotta story. And what we see later is that Carlotta story applies to Marty's wife, to Wendy, cheating on him as well. Touch on that again, but I found that interesting this time, because later Marty really figures it out, and everyone's response to Del is completely submissive, and Marty's just there watching the entire time. He doesn't He doesn't cower, doesn't back away. He's not afraid. And he just threw Dell in an instant and calls him out, doesn't answer his question, doesn't, he reframes the situation right away. But Dell one-ups him by shooting the woman in the bathroom. So Marty calls it a ruse, and then Dell's like, oh yeah, a ruse, I'll show you.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
So right away, what we see, I think that scene established something really important as well, is that life means nothing. Life means nothing to those people, to Dell. And that's what he's facing, that his life actually could be in an instant.
Yeah. And it's a great lesson to Marty that he needs to think creatively. His initially thought he could use his wit to outthink and kind of alpha up on Dell. That's clearly not the situation. He's facing death incarnate, and so his usual methods aren't going to work here. And that's the humbling of Marty, is coming face to face with all of his co-workers dying and then having a gun pointed at his head. And it's a level of, it's a humbling that he didn't receive when his wife cheated on him. That wasn't enough of a death blow for him to feel the call to action, to feel the call to creative action.
Now, what's fascinating about that, all those people getting killed in front of him, is that's a metaphor. It's a very powerful metaphor, but it's when I remember when something hit me, my life crushed under the weight of itself, and I left Eugene, Oregon, moved to Portland. It happened within days. It was really like one of these 4-day things, like just crushing, going out around in my dead life, still trying to pretend like it was legit and alive, and then just left, packed up shit, threw away what I couldn't put in the car, and took off. And it was as though all the people and situations in my life were removed the same way Dell removed them from his life. Like Dell actually is an angel of death there in a way. He's liberating Marty from the prison that he was in. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it can feel with the undoing process.
Mm-hmm. Taylor, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, up until this point, the picture that we've seen of Marty, even, as you said, even through discovering the cheating wife, as Bruce put it earlier, Marty is living a tragically subdued life. And at this point, I think, is where we start to see that start to shift. You know, as you said, he gets the call to action. He starts to wake up a little bit.
So he starts to access his potential. His true potential starts to come to the surface.
Yeah. It comes alive, and it's only through that he has the confrontation with death, and it's sustained.
The angel of death sees it in him.
Yeah. Dell sees it right in him, yeah, and it's amazing. And he tells him, he says, "You're special, Marty. You're special. Marty. Mm-hmm. You got a gift." We never hear what that is, but we get it told to us directly. And so that next scene, Taylor had something to say about where Marty now steps up in another. He gets kneeled down, and what did you say? So everyone had been told something.
Yeah. So Dell was walking around to each person there and would ask them, "Are you ready?" And he was essentially asking them, "Are you ready to die?" And as he goes around to each person and asks them this, they all kind of submit to it. Like begrudgingly, "Yeah, okay, shoot me now." He gets to Marty and he says, "Okay, are you ready?" Marty looks at him and says, No. Let's talk.
Mhm.
And yeah,
That's an incredibly beautiful moment. Marty is saying, "I'm not guilty," and it's not just about um, the money laundering. Marty's saying, "I'm not guilty. I'm not a zombie,
Mhm.
and I will not fall victim to the angel of death."
Yeah, what a beautiful scene. And he said, no, wait. And he pulls out the pamphlet.
Yeah.
More shoreline than the entire coast of California, because Dell's about to shoot him. And he's like, Dell says, what? It completely breaks set. He breaks the frame that Dell has established.
Yeah.
And he realizes it's not through power or dominance. At that moment, it's just a trick in a way. But it shocks Dell out of his state enough to notice there's someone alive in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, he stands up at that point. So he's been knelt down. And during the course of the conversation, he stands up. He gets to his feet and proceeds to, he's like, hang on. Whenever he sees Dell start to doubt him, he's like, hang on. Listen to me. It's cash rich. He says the magic words. So he suddenly takes the instruction from reality. He realizes he's been given exactly what he needs to get through this level.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
the pamphlet from Bruce, but he was given the final instruction from Bruce. So that was exceptional. And then Dell kneels him back down. So Taylor, we talked about that last night. What did you think of that? Why did Dell bring him back down to his knees and act like he was going to shoot him?
well, I think that was a move by Dell to not be making a deal with somebody on the same on equal ground. You know, Dell wanted to keep the upper hand. I think the putting Marty in a vulnerable and pretty scary situation before making this deal. But what did you guys see in that?
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Dell had to show him who's the boss of the situation. He couldn't just let Marty run it. And then Marty learned something important there too. He has to let them believe that they're in charge. It doesn't matter if they think they're in charge or not. But
Absolutely.
letting them believe that is going to be a powerful move for him.
And man, that's an incredibly powerful move there. That's a great realization.
And then at that moment, he thinks he got shot. He really thinks that he just got shot and he's facing his own death.
He thinks he got shot?
We hear a gunshot. And then he starts watching the memories of laying underneath the trampoline with the kids bouncing in the water.
Oh, okay. I didn't connect a gunshot with that, the scene underneath the trampoline there. But that was a wonderful rebirth moment there where he's at peace beneath the trampoline.
Yeah, and everything's going great. And we hear a gunshot right at the beginning of that. And suddenly, so they're trying to get the audience to see or to think that Marty just got shot. And he's living through the memories. And then suddenly Dell's like, okay, get up.
Mm.
So then Dell gets him to stand up. So then Marty faces his death, stands up. The very next scene, he goes back to his house and is telling Wendy, okay, here's what's going on. We're totally fucked. And she's like, okay, let's go to the police. So they establish right here that the regular power structures, the appeal to authority isn't going to help.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're stripping him away of all the external stuff. That's where this that the police can't help, the FBI can't help. And what does Marty say to the faces? He said, well, I'll tell you what we're not going to do. We're not going to panic.
Yeah.
So right away he says, we're not going to panic. So Monday, this shit happens with Dell. Everybody gets killed. And Friday, they are in the Ozarks. So this week is what the rest of the episode consists of.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still some loose ends tying them to Chicago. The next scene we see is Marty is going to get his $8 million from the bank. And he dominates the bank with their own laws, because of course they don't want to produce that much cash, but he holds the banking laws that he knows so well against them, to where they're forced to provide him with all the cash.
Mm-hmm.
They have feds in there, and he just walks in and he tells them exactly what's going to happen. He's like, it's my fucking business if I want to swim around in 8 million cash in my hot tub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they hold no power over him.
Right.
He sees through.
Right. He sees straight through to his objective. He's like, no matter what's happening today, that fucking 8 million is going to Dell. That's what's happening today.
Mm-hmm.
And no one can stop him.
Yeah, and he doesn't get sucked into playing people's games at all. So he knows his mission, his objective, and he cuts right through the games that everybody's playing and says how it is and how it's going to be.
Yeah, he determines what's going to happen. So the very next conversation is him talking with the private investigator, and he's trying to find a way out still for him and the family. He's like, so new identities, and we go somewhere or go to some other country. And basically in that conversation, he realizes he can't run. There's no way out of the situation, actually.
Mm-hmm.
No appeal to higher authority and no ability to run away. So he's on rails at this point. So right after that, we see then the detective gives him the address, because the wife has now pulled the cash out. So she's wavering and trying to run away from the situation as well. Of course, Dell shows up, and we see the sugarwood get plopped onto the sidewalk.
Yeah, his wife abandons him.
Yep.
Tries to jump ship, tries to abandon the Ozark plan.
Yep.
Which is that's another harsh wake-up call of nobody gives a fuck about you. And Marty shows his ability to let these things go as his family realigns to the circumstances. And they adjust as the series goes on. And obviously not in this episode, but further down, him and his wife, they become more and more of a team.
Mm-hmm. And what we see there too is that call with Dell, and with Wendy sitting there, and Dell brings up the Carlotta story again. And that's when Marty nails it. He said, what should I do with Carlotta? What should my father do with Carlotta? And he said, fire her. Why is that, Marty? Well, because it's not the first time she stole. What is it? It's the first time you caught her.
Mm-hmm.
So he establishes that with Wendy, and then says, your call. So we can go forward with this, or we can just end our Wendy problem right here. And he considers it. And like you said, he has to go through a whole process of letting go. And the next scene is he's like, you're welcome. Which is a little bit, we see some humor in there. Marty kind of like, I'll take my fucking respect, all right? And but we also see then all the kid photos. We see a whole montage of kid photos and family photos at the house. So we see a childhood's end, and Marty confronting that, not just his kids. Again, that's where the regular superficial viewing would leave you, is, oh, he's so sad because his kids are now going to have to face a more serious life. But it's everyone's childhood. It's moving into human adulthood, as Jed McKenna wrote about in his series of books. But we're seeing the childhood's end of everyone, of all the characters in the family. Everyone was just out fucking around before this. Mm-hmm. Kids are all, tied into the schools and just the city life. Barely there, not engaged with it. So then we see he brings the money to Dell, and even at his most pained, he's able to achieve all this. even at his most, destroyed. He's found a new source of motivation in life. And that's when Del tells him, "You're special. You have a gift." Del says, "I know you're full of shit about this Ozark story, but because of who you are and what I see in you, I'm going to let you fucking run with it. Let's see what happens." He says, "I'll roll the dice." I'm willing to roll the dice. So we see Marty's kind of been welcomed into the next echelon of operations. Then we see Wendy and Charlotte break. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. Nah, I was just...
So we see Wendy and Charlotte, the truck, the minivan is loaded with all the money, and they can't fit all their stuff. So the mission is essentially taking up, more space than their life was. And Wendy and Charlotte break there, and they come together. So that's an important moment to see that the family is actually realigning, as you mentioned, Lance.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final scene we lead into is the drive to the Ozarks. So the exodus from Chicago. And the song "Deck's Dark" by Radiohead starts to play. And they hit the forest there near the lake. The car pulls over. They ask, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I got to pee." And so he walks pretty deep into the woods for a piss and leans against a tree. And in the background with the lyrics, if you watch the lyrics on the screen with the closed captioning, it says, "In your life, there comes a darkness." And then he says, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." At first, again, superficial viewing, you could think, "Oh, it's pitiful. What an asshole. Look what he's done." But what that actually is the only way he can say sorry that way with so much conviction is because he's embraced 100% responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You see, he said, "I was asleep. Look what I've done." Because remember that it's a measure of a man's choices. That was our opening scene, our opening line. And he's facing what those choices have amounted to. Because he's back down to zero on the dollars. He has $20,000 now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a pivotal moment there where he's sorry. He's expressing how he feels for his family, and then ultimately it'll turn on himself, and he's sorry he let himself down, and then an internal process of forgiveness gets him up on his feet.
He goes to his knees
overlooking
again.
the view.
That's where it was. He comes to his knees, and that's the end of the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
And it's the most amazing depiction of it probably ever on film. And I bet you it goes unnoticed for that. But what happens there is, in your life, there comes a darkness. There's a spaceship blocking out the sky, like this power so far beyond you that's on top of you. And then he's saying, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." The next line says, "There's no way to hide." So he's got to face it. We're being set up that he's got to face all this. And then at the very end, it says, the family comes running up. The little boy is totally fucking stoked. He's like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
the girl's standing there. She's kind of into it." And the wife comes up and is like, "Are we actually doing this?" They all walk up. And then the lyrics are saying, it was just a laugh, just a laugh, just a laugh.
Mm.
So we're being reminded of how the facing the death made the loss of all the things and all the money in his life just a laugh. Because he has the most important thing. And suddenly we see the scene pans out and they're standing on this huge rock, just completely solid above the entire lake.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're seeing a foreshadowing of the entire series there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the opening. That's essentially the opening to the rest of the entire shows. And Marty and the family are standing on top of that rock. And then we see it zoom out, and it shows the greater wholeness of everything. It zooms way out, and everything resolves into beauty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's no guarantees. This could all end badly, but that's
yeah. So we see the crushing of his entire life, and then him seizing hold of it by taking full responsibility at the end, which was moving through a mass amount of pain, a massive amount. And And then they all step into it together. So it starts with him and the family completely locked in and not even realizing they're in a prison of their own making. And at the end, we see them all step out of it completely. And the fact that the family goes along with him after he faces losing them, essentially, because Dell tells him that he's going to kill Wendy and the kids a couple different times. I think 3 different times he mentions that. And the family coming along with him at the end then represents how he if you get right with yourself, he gets right with himself under that tree, and they all come and join up. So you get right with yourself, everyone else will go along for the ride. Not everyone in your life that you handpick necessarily, but the people around you, you will be surrounded. Reality will support you. The forces that can help will show up, and they will help. Even though you think you're completely alone.
Yeah, and everyone else gets killed off.
It was important for them to get killed off because the only way you're going to show that process in a 1-hour episode of a show, you have to resort to violence as a tool to communicate the swiftness with which those people will disappear from your life. It might happen in 2 weeks instead of 15 minutes, but it's that fast. It's just boom, and it's gone. The old ways, your old life is gone. And that happens to everyone who goes deep with the NGF work, with the radical undoing. It happens in that scene. You might experience it as somewhat violent. So it's useful that happens in the show. It was necessary. The only violence they ever showed was absolutely necessary.
Yeah. The art of not giving fuck is there's the willingness to undertake that process as many times as necessary, in as grand a scope or as in minuscule a scope, is however it wants to live itself out.
Now, the one amazing thing about this episode is that even when Marty didn't think he had it in him to move forward, to take the next step, he always had the tools on his person to take the next step. In this case, the Ozark pamphlet in the secret words, the magic words, cash rich. The way he deals with Dell is by he uses what Dell finds important, and then Marty finds it important as well. And it's genuine. He knows he has to align with what Dell finds important, or he's not going to make the sale. So there's a lot to be learned about negotiation and about sales, about reframing. Well, it's an exceptional episode. It blows my mind. I've watched it probably 8 or 9 times by now. We showed it at the workshop in England, and I hope everyone picked it up. And my one fear after watching that first episode was that thread would get lost, or that it would devolve. Or that I was just seeing something that wasn't really there. But it continues and it goes deeper. So join us next week for the Ozark Talks episode 2.
See you then.
See you then.
Getting used to betrayal.